All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first Fed League Flash YouTube video of the off season or the silly season, so to speak. I wanted to do an episode today that focuses on the protected list and the expansion draft. And for those of you who've been following the Fed for a long time, you know this stuff, but I want to give an opportunity for those who are new fans or maybe just coming in and not really knowing how things work behind the scenes. I want to give them a little bit of perspective. So please bear with me. I'm wearing my River Dragons guard because they're one of the teams that are going to be the most affected by what I'm going to be sharing today. I called this "Do I Stay or Do I Go?" And yeah, little homage to the song, but it really doesn't paint the picture properly as far as what happens with this whole process. And it is a process. It happens every year. Um, as soon as the Binghamton Black Bears raised the cup, everything started in earnest with the league in preparation for next season. So there's stuff always going on. Hence, that's why I do videos in the summer and give you news and whatnot because, yeah, things don't stop. So, anyway, um, I just want to start by saying change is a constant in minor pro hockey, especially at this level. Again, the FPHL is the lowest tier of pro hockey in North America. So there is constantly change. You've watched your favorite team this last year, and there were players in and out of the lineup, new players being signed, maybe players being called up to the SPHL or the ECHL. Um, yeah, there's constant motion going on. And that's really tough because one of the things that's so great about the Fed and why I fell in love with the Fed was the accessibility that we fans have with the players and with the organization. Um, you don't get this at the higher levels. You don't get this with the NHL. You don't get this with the AHL. You don't have, uh, generally speaking, um, players going out on big outings to plant trees or to read books to a class. I mean, sometimes that happens when you see videos of Sidney Crosby doing stuff like that, but or some other NHL superstar. But generally speaking, there's a line of separation between the fan and the player and the organization and the higher levels, and those are broken down in the FPHL, and that's what makes things so great about the league, and that's what makes this process so difficult because we become very attached to the players. They become family. Um, and what we forget is, we get mad when a next protected list comes out and, oh, my favorite player isn't on the list. Well, don't forget how all the things that player is going through too. It's like, what's going to happen? I'm going to break this down a little bit. All right. So the definition of the protected list. Okay. Binghamton is the only team that came out with their list, and we'll talk about that in a second. Um, okay, these 12 guys that are listed here cannot be drafted by the Athens Rock Lobsters or signed by another team unless something happened like, you know, the team later on agreed to trade one of these players. But generally speaking, Binghamton said, these are our core guys. These are the guys that we want to basically build our team off of at the start of next season. All right. But it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee that Jesse Anderson is certainly going to play for the Binghamton Black Bears next year. Things can happen, and I'll go through that in a little bit. Um, But so, okay, these guys are, protected. They can't be drafted by another team. All right, it doesn't mean uh, they are or aren't going to play there. It doesn't mean that something else might not happen down the road. This is just protection for now. All right, so our process starts in the off season, and they've already taken place. As soon as a team is done with the season, the coach and the staff have exit interviews with the players. All right, and they talk about. Uh, let's say I go into an exit interview. I sit down with the coach and the GM and the owner, and they say, "Okay, Gary, these are your strengths. These are some things that we've seen you develop in, and you're doing great. And these are going to carry you a long way in the future. Here's some things we'd like you to kind of work on. We don't necessarily think there are deficiencies in your game, but perhaps you want to spend more time this summer trying to develop this aspect of your game." Yeah, things like that. And then it's like, okay, what are your plans this summer? What are your plans for next year? That goes a long way in determining who makes a protected list. All right. So then we have our list set. The next thing that happens is the expansion draft. Just going off of what we know right now, that would be the opportunity for the Athens Rock Lobsters to draft players uh, from these teams down here that are listed: Binghamton, Carolina, Columbus, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Then after that has happened, and Athens has their picks, all right, and then the other teams get their couple of picks. Then we have the opportunity for all the teams to go through their summer signings. The rosters are expanded for the summer. This last year, the limit was 45 you could have signed on your roster, and then you would go through camps, training camp, and then you would whittle your roster down to the 19 on opening day. So it's a big, long process. That's why there's so much time between the cup being raised and opening day. And again, there's stuff constantly going on. So um, I've got a little bit of a feeling. One of the things that happened as soon as last season, we can call it last season now, was over, was there's a couple of situations in a couple of cities. We've talked a little bit about this: Danville, Illinois, and Texas. Um, they're trying to work things out to possibly bring these teams in for this next season, and that's why everything got pushed back a little bit. Normally, you would have the league meetings already. Now they're not happening until the end of May. So that gives the league a couple more weeks to try and work things out with these other prospective cities. Um, but again, right now, just going off of what we know we have 12 teams for next year. Okay, I got a feeling that that's the reason why there was a delay. And also, I wanted to mention, because I haven't mentioned it yet, why was Binghamton the only one that released their protected list? There's nothing that says that the team has to release their list. As a matter of fact, Vice Commissioner of the league, Sarge Richards, said, the league doesn't print out a list. The teams can, if they wish. They're not required to. All right. Now, last year, every team did. Um, this year may be different. Maybe teams are thinking, you know what, we're gonna keep this information quiet. Now it is circulated once the protected lists are formulated by each team, because they have to do that. There's an internal website that is only accessible to uh, uh, the front office of the organizations, the coach, the staff. All right, so all of those people will be able to see. Oh, okay, here's Columbus's protected list. Oh, okay, here's Mississippi's protected list. All right, and they can know what's going on. But it doesn't have to be public knowledge, and I wish it was. But What are you going to do? The business aspect of hockey is constantly changing. All right, so um, so anyway, yeah. So we might be surprised. It's like when we get to the expansion draft and Athens selects so and so from your team, you go, oh, so they weren't protected by my team. Apparently not. Surprise. Anyway, so there is no date currently set for the expansion draft. That is still up in the air. That will be determined at the league meetings, which again is right after Memorial Day. We'll find out more then. I mean, the last I was told, yeah, the expansion draft will be at the beginning of June, but that might get pushed back. All right, so again, we know we have 12 teams for sure. The 8 playoff teams, all the teams that made the playoffs this last year, they formulated a protection list where they protected 12 players. The other players that are unprotected can get drafted by Athens, okay, because they'll get 12 picks. And the teams that did not make the playoffs this last year, they will each get 2 picks. And again, this is to help try and build competition and parity in the league. So that's Baton Rouge, Blue Ridge, and Hudson Valley, which is a transplanted Elmira from this last season. So those 3 teams will get 2 picks each. So that means if we just have Athens as the only expansion team, that means there's a total of 18 players across 8 teams that will be selected and drafted. Now, I want to give you a little bit of scenario because a lot of you are going, well, what does this mean? You get drafted by Athens. All right. Let me make up a scenario. Let's say I played this last year for the Binghamton Black Bears. All right. And I wasn't one of the star players. I was like the 10th forward. I didn't play every night. I dressed for a lot of games, but I only saw action in 35 games. All right. So I go to the exit interview and I sit down with the coach and the GM and the owner, and they all say, "Okay, Gary, we've gone through. You're not going to be protected. All right, just wanted to let you know that. All right, so okay, so now I sit and wait. Let's just say, for example, there's a new expansion team coming to Philadelphia this next year. All right, and we get to the expansion draft. Philadelphia selects me. They say, hey, we like Gary Ryan. We want him to be one of our pieces at the beginning of the year. So now I have 2 choices. The players still have choice in this matter. Okay, I can say, oh, Philadelphia, hey, opportunity to go to the big city, start off, build something from the ground up, be a part of that. All right, yeah, I'll go sign with Philadelphia. Or I could even say, I don't like Philadelphia. I wouldn't live there if you threw me all the money in the world. I'm not doing it. I don't have to sign. I can be drafted, but I don't necessarily have to sign. And this happened last year with the new teams coming in. There were teams that got players that got drafted. They didn't report. They didn't sign. So what happens then? Well, okay, I've said I don't want to go to Philadelphia. I don't want to have no part in Philadelphia. All right, now that means that I cannot play for another Fed team unless Philadelphia either released me or traded my rights to another team. All right, that happens. Or I could explore my own options. I could say, you know what? I think I could realistically make a roster in the SPHL. I'm going to try out for an SPHL team next year. Or, there's opportunities in Europe. I'm going to go to Europe. By the way, this video is going to be longer than 15 minutes. I just want to kind of explain this and give you an idea of what this all really means and what really happens through my hypothetical situation here. All right. So anyway, getting back to me, I can say, you know, there's a lot of teams in Europe that are looking for imports, and I think I could have a good season over there. I think it could compete well, and I'm going to go to Europe, and that happened. As a matter of fact, last year after the season, even though Gus Ford was on Carolina's protected list, Gus Ford initially decided, I've got a great opportunity to play for a team in France. I'm going to France. I'm signing a contract with France. As the summer wore on, I'm not sure what happened, but it didn't pan out. So Gus Ford didn't play for France, and he was released from his contract. And after that point, he tried out for a couple of teams in a couple different leagues. Um, and then he said, you know what? I'm coming back to Carolina. So there he was. And Carolina said, yeah, you're coming back? Oh, yeah, we'll sign you. So anyway, there's all these things that happen. The players still have a choice. There's not a union per se in the Fed, but the players still control their own destiny. They don't end up playing somewhere where they don't want to play. That's the bottom line. Okay. Um, Using my hypothetical situation, Philadelphia didn't want to sign me. Now I've got the power to make my own choice as far as, do I go play in another league somewhere? Or maybe I even reconsider. Maybe Philadelphia sends somebody to talk to me and said, think about the opportunity you have here. All right. Won't you reconsider? And, a month's may go by. It may be early September. I'm still unsigned, but I finally decide, you know what? Yeah, I thought about it. I've rethought the whole process. I'm going to sign with Philadelphia. All right. And then I'm on their summer roster and I go to camp. So that's just to give you an idea, a little bit of perspective again, as far as how this works and what this means. No player is doomed to play somewhere they don't want to be. In the end, um, you know, when contracts are signed, it's by mutual agreement. Nobody's holding a gun to anybody's head saying, you have to play here or else, or you're done. Um, the players have the power to make that decision on their own. And that's why you see a lot of what we would maybe term holdouts. Um, I'm using Kyle Powell as an example here. Okay, he got drafted last year to go to Baton Rouge. Um, he he lives in the Metro Toronto area. He just said, you know what, I don't want to play that far away from home. I don't want to play for Baton Rouge. So Baton Rouge ended up releasing his rights. And then, well, no, I'm sorry, they didn't release his rights. They traded his rights to Elmira. Um, he wasn't ready to play in Elmira yet either. So he actually played in juniors, being a player coach for a while before he agreed to come to Elmira to play. So again, players have options. They have control. And it seems like there's a lot of drama sometimes, but again, it all comes down to the individual. Um, so there is choice. That's what I'm yammering on about here. So I hope this gives you a little bit of a better idea as far as how the inner workings of the Fed goes, especially in response to this protected list. Now, I didn't touch on this. I'm going to do this really briefly because I'm running long here. Um, let's just use as an example Tyson Kirkby. And I'm using him because he's a fascinating situation. He's on two teams' protected lists. He's on Binghamton's protected list in the Fed, and he's also on Roanoke's protected list in the SP. All right, meaning right now, no other team in the Fed is going to have Tyson Kirkby playing for him. Or if Kirkby goes to the SP, his rights are held by Roanoke there. All right. He could decide, you know what? I have a couple of offers from some ECHL teams to try out. I'm going to go try out for them before I even make up my mind about whether I want to come back to Binghamton or whether I want to play for Roanoke. He has that option. There's no guarantee that Tyson Kirkby, just because he's listed on Binghamton's protected list, is going to play for Binghamton next year. Is it likely? Yeah, we can say that. It's likely, but it's not a guarantee. So, again, the only thing that this protected list does is guarantees that Tyson Kirkby cannot be drafted by Blue Ridge, Baton Rouge, Hudson Valley, or Athens. And that's really it. That is the only guarantee you have. So, again, this is just kind of help the players a little bit with their future plans. It's not a guarantee. All right. I hope this helped. I hope this helped to give you a little bit of perspective and understanding as far as how this all works, because it's actually a very complicated process. But again, like I said, ultimately the fate of the player is in the player's hands. So you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, I hope this helped. If you have any questions, email me. Okay, my email is bbb22segments@yahoo.com. Or you can contact me via Facebook Messenger, Fed League Flash. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. I may have the answer, I may not. Okay, but anyway, I just wanted to help you understand this all again, and I hope this helped. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. Tomorrow I will be posting another video here on YouTube, so watch for that. And then there's going to be news and notes on Facebook Live on Tuesday. I have a feeling that many of you are really going to want to tune in on Tuesday because there is the potential for some big news breaking. That's all I'll say about that. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Again, thank you for putting up with me going on a little long. And have yourself a great day. This is Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash.